Hello, this is your captain speaking. Today we're going to be flying into Nagasaki. And as you can see from this map, Nagasaki is a very, very small city in the overall prefecture, which is virtually this entire area. It's roughly, call it 1/10 of the size of the overall prefecture, and a prefecture in Japan is the equivalent of a state. The city of Nagasaki itself has about, call it about 300,000 people, maybe 400,000 at most, and the overall population of the prefecture is, somewhere in the range of 1.4 million people. Anyway, what we're flying in today is into the Bay of Nagasaki, and as you can see, it's actually quite beautiful. In fact, one of the prettiest bays that we'll be visiting. And the view from the plane is pretty much the view we're going to see from the ship as we're sailing into the bay. Now, what makes Nagasaki really interesting is that its history isn't just Japanese-related history. It's also the history of the West visiting Japan. And the first ships came into Nagasaki in the early 1500s. They were Portuguese. And the captains themselves had to be ecstatic because Nagasaki Bay is protected from the winds and the weather. And that's why it remained an important trading point. In fact, the Japanese made it, for many hundred years, made it its only point of entry for Western ships. As you can see, as we're now entering the main part of the bay, there's a bridge that goes over the entranceway. I think it's a very tall bridge. You can see these little images of vehicles that's on the ground. I actually think that's an accident of Microsoft Flight Simulator. And the actual cars ride on top above it. And the bridge is high enough so the ship should be able to sail underneath it quite easily. Anyway, we're now entering the main part of the port and also the city of Nagasaki. We're about to reach an area that's just off to the right. You'll see it's kind of like a little islet. That's called the Jima. And that's where the European ships were, they were restricted to trading in that area. We're now entering a canal, and as you see, the canal runs right through the center of the city. Like all Japanese cities, it's quite heavily populated. We're now flying and actually entering the Peace Park area. You can see it just slightly off of the distance here, straight ahead. And the Peace Park area is where the atomic bomb landed in Nagasaki. Most of the excursions are going to be visiting that Peace Park area for obvious reasons. As you saw on the initial map, Nagasaki is just one small part of the overall prefecture. And what we're going to do now is we're going to fly over some of that area so you'll get a feel for how large it is, and also the beautiful mountains, or small hills, whatever you want to call them, where all the population is nestled into. can see off in the distance where there's a little sign that says Nagasaki and gives the mileage to it, with distance to it. That's actually the airport for Nagasaki. And we took off from that airport but didn't record the takeoff portion. We've only started recording as we're headed into Nagasaki itself, and we're going to fly over some of the surrounding area, and then we're going to end up landing at that airport. See, as we're going out of the Nagasaki city itself, how the city is kind of nestled into an area of small mountains. And as we head over those mountains, you'll see the rest of the Nagasaki prefecture, or at least big chunks of it, as it's headed off into the distance. And you can see the population that's going to be on the other side of that mountain. Now starting our landing approach, and you can see the airport now off on the left-hand side as the plane is getting ready to turn into it. This is going to conclude our flight for today, and we'd like to thank you for flying Air Kaz. Hope you had a good flight over the Nagasaki city and area.